What is up, guys? It is Will Sports, and today I'm going to be covering the 49ers and Eagles game that we just saw today. It just finished. The 49ers were able to pull out the W. They won this game 42-19. Highly anticipated game, one of the games of the year. I feel like the Eagles have been playing a lot of these games this season. Played the Cowboys and the Dolphins and the Bills and the Chiefs. They played so many of these games. But this one was probably the most anticipated just because of the fact that these have looked like the two best teams in the NFL for most of the season. The Niners came in, they were trying to prove a point because of how last year's playoff game went. They, lost Brock Purdy in that game, and the Eagles ended up pulling away and blowing them out and advancing to the Super Bowl. And you could tell coming into this game, the Niners, this was going to be personal. This was a game that they wanted to come out and dominate and get their lick back and get some type of revenge and gain some more confidence as a team. Deebo Samuel obviously had confidence in his team still because before the game, in the interview, I think in the offseason, he said something like, if we would have had Brock, we would have beaten them by a lot. Them as the Eagles. He was basically saying that, and he stood on that and he showed it today. He was great. Christian McCaffrey was great. Brock Purdy was great. And I really want to just go throughout the game and talk about the things I saw. So early in this game, the Niners really couldn't were the first few possessions, at least, they weren't able to move the ball. I don't think they picked up a first down on either of the first few possessions. And the Eagles looked like they were going to win the game, in my opinion, early in the game. But the Niners defense came up big, forcing field goals to start the game and not allowing touchdowns. And that honestly kept the Niners in it early. And then, the Niners offense just from the, I think probably second quarter on, the Niners offense was just unstoppable. Brock Purdy really started to kind of settle in and get comfortable. They were giving him some easy throws early in the game to kind of gain a rhythm, and just kind of with the playmakers make stuff happen after the catch. Deebo, Ayuk, Kittle, all these guys were doing great stuff. And the run game today was special. Christian McCaffrey had 93 yards on the ground. McCaffrey's playing like an MVP this year, and if he's gonna run like that, and you're gonna get the run blocking that you were getting from that O-line tonight against a really stout Eagles defensive line, I just don't know how you're gonna stop this team because they can do it either way. They can throw the ball for 300, they can rush for 200, and then obviously their defense is elite when they want to be. So this is a team that just came in today and they looked pretty unstoppable. Brock Purdy, like I said, just looked very comfortable, smooth, made some plays with his legs. He was making some really impressive throws, facing pressure, and he wasn't taking a lot of sacks and wasn't putting the ball in harm's way. I thought he did a really good job of that. He threw for 4 touchdowns, 300 yards. And this is a guy that just continues to play really well. He's now outplayed Dak Prescott. He's outplayed Jalen Hurts in 2 huge, showings in 2 of their biggest games of the season. He outplayed Trevor Lawrence when they played. I mean, he's just outplayed every top tier quarterback he's played this year. So you got to give him credit for that. He's a guy that obviously he's not going to be the reason that you win, but he can be a part of why you win, and he's going to be a guy that can stabilize things, keep things on script, and keep things going. But you're not expecting him to be a guy that carries you. But they don't need that from him because when this team's healthy, they just need him to make the right plays, get the ball to your playmakers, don't turn the ball over, and we'll be good. And, there's a lot of talent on this team. Like I said, Deebo, CMC, Kittle, Jawan Jennings, Brandon Ayuk. There's just so much talent on this offense that it's easy for him if he's just, not pressing. I think the fact that when they're able to play on their terms and establish a lead early and, establish a run game and be able to be balanced, it just makes the game easy for him because he's not pressing and thinking too much. And I think that's really good for him. But yeah, the Niners really dominate the line of scrimmage on both ends, in my opinion. Defensively, like I said, they were getting, Jalen Hurts was holding on to the ball a lot in this game for some reason, but they were able to get to him, I think, 3 times today, and the Eagles could not run the ball today. I think they had a season low in rushing yards. They had 46 rushing yards, so the Eagles are a team that a lot of times like to get the run game going, and then they use that to open up the passing game. And today they really couldn't do that. They had to lean on the passing game. Jalen Hurts wasn't great today. His numbers look good. He's 26 of 45 for 298. But if you really watch the game, it was just an okay performance from him. Just he didn't look like he was 100%. And he did miss part of the game because he went back to the locker room. And like I said, he just couldn't establish the run at all. And if this team can't establish the run and you're leaning only on that passing game, you're one-dimensional, that's not a good thing against this 49ers defense. Now, the 49ers secondary was a problem earlier, when they lost those 3 games in a row. But they've tightened up of late, and today, even though the Eagles threw for a lot of passing yards, I still thought timely plays were made, and especially near the goal line in the red zone, the defense was coming up huge in terms of knocking down balls, getting a hand on balls, getting in front of receivers, making it tough on them. So I thought that was impressive. AJ Brown and Devontae Smith did have solid statistic type of games. And the secondary is still not great. That is sort of a weakness for the Niners, but it was good enough for them to be able to contain this Eagles offense for the most part. But the Niners dominated, the clock, dominated time possession, all that type of stuff. So if this team's gonna show up, I don't see how you beat them. I don't see anyone in the league that can beat them, because I don't think anyone's as complete as this team when they're healthy and when they're firing on all cylinders. And it was a very impressive win. You've now beaten the Cowboys. You not just beaten, but you've blown them out. You blew out the Jaguars, and now you blew out the Eagles. If you're the Niners, you got to feel very confident in yourself, and getting over that hump of the Eagles after how last year ended is huge. And seeing Brock Purdy go on the road and play like that in a tough environment, even though it's not a playoff game, it is a huge game. And seeing him go on the road and make those type of plays was very huge, and made me gain even more belief in this Niners team. Because if there was one thing that concerned me about the Niners, was going to be Brock Purdy and how he performs, in those big moments. And he played really well tonight, so you got to give him credit. As far as the Eagles, they fall to 10-2. I'm not going to overreact to the game. I still think that they can win the NFC. I still think if the Niners and the Eagles face off in the playoffs, that's not a game where it's a foregone conclusion to me. I think the Eagles definitely can win in a rematch. But they're going to have to figure out these secondary issues. Teams are getting whatever they want through the air. Literally everybody. Sam House lit them up twice. Josh Allen had a great day last week. Kirk Cousins earlier in the year. And now you got, Brock Purdy coming in, diming you up. Everybody's having good days against this Eagles pass defense, and that's a problem. And they can get to the passer. They can rush the passer as good as anybody in the league, and sometimes that makes up for it. But when you aren't able to get to the passer, you're really in a tough situation if you're the Eagles. And Kevin Byard was supposed to be a big addition for this secondary, and it just really hasn't panned out so far. So I think that's the biggest thing that I keep seeing every week, and I'm just like, that's a problem. And hopefully the Eagles can figure that out as this season progresses. But they're 10-2, so I don't think we need to panic. Even though you lost like this to the Niners, they've still figured out ways to win all year, and the schedule's just been so brutal that the Niners game came at a really bad time. I mean, you've beaten the Bills, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, all these teams in a span of a few weeks. It's tough to overcome that, and to keep every week battling and making the winning plays and being the better team against dominant, really good teams, the best in the NFL. The Eagles, it was going to be tough to win this game, but I wouldn't worry too much. I think Jalen Hurts needs to continue to get healthy, and I think he'll play better come playoff time. And he's a guy that just is locked in and focused, and he knows the task at hand, and he doesn't let his team down too often. And I think come playoff time, he will be on his A game. This offense is still great. The run game had a bad night, but this is the worst rushing performance they've had of the season. I don't anticipate it being like that every time they play. And I think the main issue for me is just going to be that pass defense. Can you tighten up a little bit? Can you throw more bodies in the back end and maybe rush less people up front? I don't know, but this is a Eagles team that they're going to make adjustments, and this is a team that has just overcome a lot of adversity throughout the year. So I just feel like I'd be a fool to just write them off because of a bad performance today. It wasn't a good look, and I think after this game, I would say the Niners are the favorites, and the Niners proved they're the best team in the NFC right now. But the Eagles, we can't just dismiss them. And they have the Cowboys next week. And that's a huge game because if the Eagles lose that game, all of a sudden they find themselves from 2 games, ahead of anyone else in the NFC for first place to all of a sudden being down at 5th, for a wild card spot. So it's a crucial game for them and the Cowboys because it's going to decide who basically wins that division. So this was a tough loss for the Eagles, but I think they needed this. I think they needed another, moment to kind of humble them, but to kind of get them back on their A game, to get them focused, refocused, and feeling like, hey, it was a tough moment. We got to regroup and we got to get better. And I think they'll be fine from it. But give the Niners a lot of credit. They came out and made all the plays and just dominate this football game. And if they're going to continue to dominate teams like this at a high level, I find it hard to see who can beat them because the AFC right now, I don't think any of the AFC teams are better than the Niners or the Eagles. So it's like if they blow out the Eagles like this, then they should be able to blow out anyone else like this. But I don't know. Those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think down below? Do y'all think the Niners proved to be the best team in the NFC? Do y'all think the Eagles are still the best and they just had a bad game? Let me know. And yeah, that's all my thoughts. It's been Will Sports. Peace.